I had an Outpost Advisors tracker. The sleuth, the kid's about to find out where the vehicle is. I call the police, meet me at this house. They come, the police are very concerned that there might be firearms present. Run your home and your dough like a biblical boss. Mark, hot topic around my house would be the issue of protection. I'm going to open today's episode with a story. 2 days ago at 1:30 a.m., I'm going to provide some footage. It'd be kind of fun to intersperse with actual footage, which I'm describing. A masked team of marauders, I think of them as Old West bandits, came into my street with a blacked out black sedan, and then there was a team of at least 3 who got out of the car, and while the sedan is inching down my street, they are going car to car, trying the door. They pull out a flashlight, see if there's like a smash and grab opportunity in the car. If the car is open, they're getting anything out of the car. We had several neighbors who were burgled that night, and we have all this on videotape. Which, if you're watching on YouTube, you've already seen this tape as I've been describing it. Now let's pause there and let's go. Let's rewind a few hours. Let's Tarantino this story and go back and say, earlier that night.
I thought we were going to rewind all the way to Texas when at least once a day, we're cutting to that scene, that Tarantino moment where Steven
Yeah.
goes, "Why do you always lock your car when you get out of your car?" Anyway.
Oh, this is gonna. Is this story turning into something about you, Mark? Is that
No,
what's
no, no,
happening right
no. I
now?
just thought that was gonna be like an Easter egg, but it's not, so keep going.
Oh my gosh. You know what? While we're on the topic, we you brought that up. So let's just imagine a scenario in which let's say we're at my sister's house in Terrell, Texas, and she has 4 neighbors within 20 miles, and they live on 10 acres. And then when you get out of the car and walk inside, you instinctively or habitually lock the doors.
Yeah.
Now, I realize this is a habit of Mark's. This is something he does, regularly. And then I will kind of go like, well, I need the Coke that I left in the car, but now I must walk across the property, plaintively ask Mark, can I have the keys to your car, please? And then we go back. Now I can get my Coke. It seems a little much on a giant piece of property. We're out in the country. So, yeah, there it is. There it is. It doesn't have to happen all the time. It probably would have been better if it had happened on my street 2 days ago at 1:30 in the morning, and many of my neighbors were
Well,
burgled.
yeah, at let's say 8:30 at night, we've rewound now. We're in the moment. Steven has just come back from smashing the local pickleball crew, and he says, "Meh, my stuff's good." Right?
No, that's not what happened.
Okay, you tell it.
So what happened was I bought a new pickleball bag. This is the first time for me to use this bag. I'm at my Monday night pickleball league. So it's keys and phone in the bag. I'm playing. It was very, very hot outside. Did that keep me from playing well? No, I played well. I came back to the car. I open up the rear hatch of the car. I peel off the sopping wet shirt. I put on a dry shirt. The smart guy brings an extra shirt because he knows he's going to be sopping wet. I take off the sweatbands. I get the phone, and then I move to the front of the car. And I think to myself, when I sit down in the front of the car, I think, oh, my keys are still in the pickleball bag. I think, well, the car will probably start electronically anyways. I'll leave them back. I'll get them when I get home. I drive home. As you can imagine, during that 15-minute drive, the keys have completely left my brain. They might have revisited my brain when I got out at home and got my cup and my wet clothes and my phone. But there was someone standing at my door yelling, "Daddy, come on in. The Aggies are on TV. They're in the College World Series. And the Mavericks are about to play in the finals. Let's hurry into the house." All this hubbub going on. And, dear listener, I forgot the keys. which were still in the new pickleball bag, which had been deposited in the back of the car. And the one night, yea, verily, the one night, the first night that that had ever happened in my life, this was the night of the Masked Marauders on Broadview Drive. Now let's jump cut to Wednesday morning, and I'm getting ready for the day, and I go outside, and first of all, I can't find my keys, and I think, well, shoot, I'm kind of embarrassed. I guess I left the keys in the car overnight. I know the wife doesn't like it when I do that. We won't tell the wife. We'll just find the keys, and I walk outside and hey, does anybody know anything about where my car is? And my helpful child goes, I think you parked him down around the side of the garage, Daddy. So I went and looked. No, I don't remember doing that. And I went and found my wife and said, I have a troubling piece of intel for you. I think my car was stolen last night. Friends, my car was stolen this week from my home. And I began the process of walking through the insurance scene and the police scene. But do you have any questions right up front, Mark?
Well, you and I have talked about this a bit in the last couple days, and despite my what I thought was sort of uh, friendly ribbing here, I do feel terrible because that was a cool car that actually it has a connection to Abraham's wallet. It was chosen. You were guided to that car
True.
live on Abraham's wallet,
On
and
air.
it feels like just a part of our, a part of our community here. So I'm hoping that that car is coming back to you. But you said you had an update on
Yes,
the
I do have an
car
update.
progress, so I'm really excited.
Well, I'll say also, I feel that our vehicles are siblings because we have the same license plate. Our financial advising firm is Outpost Advisors. You have the outpost, your license plate just says Outpost from the state of Utah. My license plate just says Outpost from the state of Ohio. So I feel like they're siblings. You might figure out a way to kind of softly tell this news to your truck. Um,
Sometimes when a
anyhow,
sibling runs away from home, it goes to the other sibling. So maybe I'll find that car in Utah.
yeah, perhaps. um, so the Outpost mobile is at large. And here's what I found out. First of all, the police lady that came to the house was so not concerned with what had happened. She didn't even get out of her cruiser as my wife is talking with her. Now, where was it stolen? Well, right where your cruiser is. It was stolen right here. There's my house right here. Uh-huh. Okay. She's typing it up. I get your report. She kind of scribbles out a couple numbers on a little memo pad to my wife. Yeah, somebody took my wife's kind of like, well, what is done next? She's like, somebody will contact you. Don't worry about it. And like my wife left thinking, well, that wasn't a great experience I had with the local police, not something that we do every day. And I found out it's such a normal thing, the a car being stolen that the police aren't particularly bothered about it. I have more to say about that in a second. Um, and the people at the car rental place aren't bothered about it either because it's so common to them. It makes up a lot of their business. Well, the guy told me this. He said, I can see your policy. We've been sent over something. This is the guy at Enterprise. We've been sent something from your insurance company. I see that your policy says that you're covered for $50 a day, but the order that we got, you're only approved for $25 a day. Really? Yeah, you might want to call your insurance company. So I call the insurance company. Why would you just approve me for $25 when my policy is 50? And they go, oh, did that happen? Oh gosh, we'll change that. No problem. And my wife and I are looking at each other going like, this is part of their deal, isn't it? That your policy is that you get a $50 a day car, but they go, here's $25. You can take the smallest little compact little car. You'll be fine. And most people probably go along with it, even though they have paid for a policy that's $50 a day and I get the third row SUV, which I eventually got. I found that distressing. That I didn't like that, Mark.
Yeah. It
Are you
sounds like
surprised to
they're
hear that an insurance company would try to rip off its clients?
no.
Okay. So one little interesting thing that happens is that I figured on that keychain that was in my pickleball bag, I had an Outpost Advisors tracker made by the company called Tile. And I thought to myself, the sleuth, the kid's about to find out where the vehicle is. And so this is within an hour. I'm looking on there and I'm find and the tracker's telling me, yeah, 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 we're to the west. Go find us. So I go. I'm in my wife's vehicle. I'm driving around. The tracker is not there. I'm kicking rocks. Come on. I got out of the car. It's like in the middle of the highway. I don't see anything. I update the tracker. It takes me to a house in a not great part of town. I go there and I see this house and I think my tracker is there. It's in there. It's very accurate. I call the police. Meet me at this house, police. They come. The police are very concerned that there might be firearms present. So they keep asking me, was there anything in the car? No, nothing like that in the car. Okay. Then the police come and they're giving me this little speech before they ever approach the house. Now listen, we can't go into the house without their permission. I'm like, who asked you to break down the door? I'm just telling you that my stuff is something that I own is in that house. And I would like for you to, well, try to enforce your authority and maybe get in there and get it and maybe talk to the person. They might give information. I'm just like, why is this hard? And they just kept going like, yeah, unless they invite us in. I mean, I mean, I don't know what you want us to do exactly. Like, tell them that something stolen is in their house. Start there, and then say, "We'd like to come in and look around." And if they're innocent, they'll go, "You can come around and look around all you want. I don't think anything like that is here." The woman who's comes to the door, I'm obscured by the hedge. I'm standing nearby, and the woman who comes to the door says, "Nobody's been here in days." And they kind of go, "Well, okay, thank you so much for your help." Walk down the sidewalk, literally shrug shoulders at me and go, what can we say? They don't want us to go in. Sometimes these trackers are off. Sometimes I'm like, bro, this thing will tell me where in the room my keys are. It's very accurate. Yeah, you should leave this to us. Sometimes people turn into the little vigilantes. They think they're going to solve the crime. Just leave it to us. Yeah, I'll leave it to you. Thanks, you've done great. So thank you so much. Anyways, that was the end of things yesterday. My car is stolen. I guess I'm shopping for a car now. I did get a rental car later in the day. Here's the update. Are you ready for the update?
I'm ready for
Okay.
the update.
I just found this out within 3 hours ago.
Okay.
My car has turned to in just one day, my car turned to a life of crime. My car has been a part of 2 criminal offenses in the last 24 hours, including shots fired from within my car. Don't you think that kinda makes my car's kinda tough, right? So these
Wow.
criminals have my car, and now they're using my car, and it's been seen on cameras, etcetera. So some officers know what part of town it's been operating in. There's a couple guys who are out on the street looking for cars, and guess what they find? My car smoking a cigarette. My car no, it wasn't, but they found my car on the street, had a do-rag on. No, it didn't. It was all tatted up. No, but they found my car and they towed it, and now they've gone through it and they say, "We don't see any damage done to this car at all. Your license plate is still on it." They went through the list of things. They're describing to me the things in her car. Guess what's in the car?
Your pickleball paddle.
Pickleball bag and paddle still in the car.
Does it have a bullet hole in it?
It doesn't have a bullet hole in it. It might need some air freshener in it. I don't know. There were interesting things in the car, like they said, well, uh, was your car fairly clean when you left it?" I said, "No, officer, it wasn't fairly clean. It was extremely clean." He's like, "Oh, that's really
Immaculate.
good." He said, "That's really good because we can dust it for fingerprints." I said, "Knock yourself out." Was there like a discarded McDonald's bag in the back? "Absolutely not, officer. There was not a discarded McDonald's bag in the back." He said, "That's great. I can dust that for fingerprints." So you remember how I said they were going and looking into windows with their little hand flashlights? Guess what
Yeah.
they found in the car?
Hand
Hand
flash.
flashlights. And they found gloves, and they found masks in the car. And, I thought, "You got him, officer." Also, a lot of black sunglasses. He's like, "Any sunglasses in the car?" I was like, "Yeah, are there some, like, polarized pink golfing glasses in there?" No, those are not in there. What's in there?" These really dark, black, sunglasses. Yeah, that's not me. So my good sunglasses gone, bad sunglasses in there. Anyways, I'll be picking it up whenever I have time, which is probably gonna be tomorrow. But the bad news is that the bad guys have my keys. So they have the keys to my car, and they have the keys to my front door. They also have the keys to our workplace, but I'm not really worried about that because I don't think they know where our workplace is. But, we're gonna have to change the lock to our front door. That's the tune of $400, and we're gonna have to re-electronically key my electronic locks. I'm told that's upward of $500 to do that. And did you know that you have to pay the towing fee? I have to pay the towing fee from where they found the car to taking it to the station where it was investigated. So I have to pay all of those things.
I would have thought that was a tax, like one of those things our taxes pay for,
I
but
would have thought so too.
did you tell them the good news is I can tell you exactly where these people live because there's still a tracker there.
I gave them that. I've talked to probably 5 detectives, and I have told each of them, "Now, would you like to know where they go at night to lay down and sleep?" The tracker has actually moved inside that building since yesterday. I'm like, "I can tell you what room it's in this
Yeah,
house."
it's
"Well,
so
I don't
funny.
know. You just hold off there, cowboy." "Alright, man."
I
And
had my guitar stolen out of my car a long time ago
ooh,
and did the same thing with even less urgency because it's just a guitar, but it was a sentimental item for me, so I was excited about getting it back, and they listed it on Craigslist, and I
ah,
called them, and I'm like, "Yeah, this guy, it's my guitar." He sent me a photo of the serial number, um, and I called the detective, and I'm like, "Go get it, brother," and he said, "Well, I'm gonna have to call him and I'll let you know how it goes." And he calls me back. Unfortunately, he hung up on me when I told him I was a detective. And I said, "What? You led with 'I'm a detective'?" And so I never saw that guitar again. But
oh my goodness.
there's wonderful police officers out there, but there's also some chuckleheads.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
So
now that we're done with most of the episode, I
yeah,
think we need to get to what we're trying to cover today. Um, and that whole story is just a little bitty tiny corner of the big world, which is called protection. And we did the episodes with your buddy Lou, um, where we talked about protection, really, in terms of physical protection of people in your home. And he
yes,
had awesome tips like if you get longer screws, you can screw the deadbolts into your door
yes,
extra. I assume you'll be doing that now that there's the masked bandits know where you're at
yes,
and they might want their flashlights back. Uh,
yes.
but in the land of which is our community of supporting listeners, you can join if you support this podcast financially. Um, Jono, who's maybe the funniest guy in the whole land of he's got that
Yes,
He's got this delightful British way about him, but he is British, and he carries the way of the Brits in terms of humor, and he was not being funny when he tuned in and said, "Guys, I wanna hear more about protection, not just of my physical space, but of all 5 capitals,"
right.
and we thought that was awesome, and then the Lord blessed us with your car turning to a life of crime,
Oh,
right
Lord.
before we were going to record this. So we had a 27-minute introduction just ready to go for our series launching on the topic of protection. Today, what we want to do is just give you a few universally true truths. I guess truths are universally true when it comes to protection as a way of introducing what will be episodes on how do we protect our financial capital. There's just some overarching topics. Once you've made some money, built some wealth, how do you protect it? How do you protect intellectual capital? It, I've learned some things. Isn't that just my brain is it's now no one can take it from me, right? What about physical capital? We've talked a little bit. We've had episodes in the past about taking care of your body. We've talked to Chris Cerullo about that, but there's some areas that we haven't covered when it comes to what about your car? That's physical capital. How do you protect it from getting stolen?
Lock your doors.
You could lock your doors. You could put the club on it. Did you have the club
Yeah,
on it?
that's right.
There's so many voices out there, and we'll get into this, that want to tell you here's what you should be doing in any of these five areas: spiritual, physical, intellectual, any of them. There's people that are going to want to be your guru. And part of protection is going to be distinguishing those voices and protecting against, what's the job? What's the primary job of elders and pastors in the church? Well, one of those primary jobs is protecting the flock against what? Well, the word shepherd is used because shepherds protect the flock against wolves
Wolves.
and things that want to devour the sheep. Um, so, as fathers, we are the primary pastor of our home, which means we're the protector of all the wolves. And there's wolves not just in spiritual realm. There's wolves that want to destroy your relationships. There's that lady that you work with that slides into your DMs on Instagram and starts wanting to have a conversation about the boss. "Isn't he annoying? I shouldn't be talking to you on social
Right.
media. You're not my wife." So, we're gonna talk about all of that, and, I have, like, 3 points as a way of intro, but what do you think, Steven? Because we were both pretty excited when we heard this recommendation from Jono.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable question, which is, look, we like to talk about the building of capitals. Have you ever built a sandcastle before? Those things look great for a number of hours, and then all of the elements are there to erode and degrade what you've made. That's how it works. And that's the case for us with everything. If you think, well, I knew God 20 years ago. I was kind of walking with God. I think we're good. I don't think I need to read the Bible anymore. You're wrong. The blade has dulled for you. You're not in step with the Spirit. That's a biblical idea. You're not in step with the Spirit right now, and whatever you once knew, it's not with you right now. So that's kind of this idea of uh, securing what you have gained. That it's true everywhere from spiritual all the way down to financial, and I think that we talk so often about how to grow in a capital, how to make the most of your capitals, that talking about, "Now, how do I defend this thing?" makes a lot of sense. So I'm very interested in the topic.
There's a passage that I think, for me, kinda guides the topic of protection. I wouldn't say it's everything, but it's one of the big, I think
Boulders, it's one of the boulders. It's one of the truths, one of your true truths.
the shepherding thing really sticks out to me. Like, when I think about protection, that's probably my favorite metaphor, is the shepherd and the flock. And Proverbs 27:23, we've talked about that a lot in context of budgeting. And do you know what that verse is, Steven?
No, I don't. I was racking
You're
my
gonna
brain.
recognize it. It's, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give
Oh,
careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations."
wow.
And that proverb, it's actually 23 and 24, it it captures why protection matters, because and I think it even sets up some of the things that I wanna just say we're going to dive into on each capital. Um, knowing the condition of your flocks, it's impossible to protect financial capital, for example, if you have no idea what assets you're stewarding. You
Mhm.
know, it's like if you're the Yahoo. I played golf with a guy last weekend, and he was clearly just a trust funder 'cause he I was like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" "Well, I've done some, like, four-wheeling business, and I've done this and that," and I'm kind of getting the sense this guy and he goes, "But honestly, I'm not gonna apologize, man. My family did really well, so I can kinda do whatever I want." And I'm kinda asking him because 'cause I'm a financial planner, like, "Well, what is your family invested in? What are they doing?" He's like, "I don't really know. I think there's some real estate, there's some maybe some stocks." And I'm like, "This guy has no idea how to protect the wealth of his family and is probably headed for that statistic we talk about how multi-generational wealth tends to disappear in 2 generations or less." Because he doesn't know the condition of his flocks. He doesn't know if he owns rental homes, much less if they're rented to good tenants or being well maintained or any of that. That's a pretty egregious example, but for Steve, you as my business partner, I still think will be shocked to know the frequency at which when I am talking through the just nitty gritty details of someone's financial situation when they
The nitty-gritty.
yes, the nitty-gritty
The
details.
nitty-gritty.
Uh, how often somebody goes, "I think I might have some 401k plans that I forgot
Right.
about."
Right, right, right.
Um, I don't know the statistic, but I've had companies try to sell me software where you can enter Social Securities and try to find these accounts for people because people just they'll save diligently $50,000 and
Right.
lose it. Just forget
Right.
that it exists.
Yes.
So certainly they're not rebalancing it and doing things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but as fathers, talk about the most important capital. We just were talking about the least spiritual capital. How do we know the condition of our children's spiritual life and
Mm.
their hearts and how they're relating to the King? Um, and that's something that it's not. I would say it's not like a sexy like fatherhood blogger. I'm gonna take my kids out for a day of fishing and, like, get a lot of photos and post them of me being an awesome dad. It's usually happens when I'm driving somebody to basketball practice,
Yes.
or these mundane moments where I'm just always checking in and pressing in. Hey, what are you reading in the Bible? "Oh, you haven't read your Bible in a week." Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna jump down your throat and say, "You better start reading," but I'm kind of noting, okay, we don't have here, um, deep intimacy on a regular basis, not soaking in the scriptures, so that's just good information for me to know so I can protect the state
Yes.
of my daughter's spiritual life, for example.
Yeah.
Um so number 1, know the condition of your flocks. If you wanna be a protector of all 5 capitals. Number 2, understand the threats. Um,
Mm.
I think it's really good to spend most of your time looking at the things that are good and true. So when I live out here in Utah, right? And I live amongst the Mormons. They make wonderful neighbors and clients and all this, but there's a strand of Christians here that spend all their time studying the gotchas.
Right.
I think that we do best to study the good, true, pure word of God and just get so familiar with it that when we hear something that doesn't align, we go, "What? That's not
Uh,
right." However, that being said, it's still good to know the threats. So it's good to know what are the arguments that are being set up against our kind of spiritual lives, our beliefs. With relationships, I think one of the things that Jono mentioned when he brought this episode idea up was my wife was kind of like, "What are you doing exchanging a social media message with some woman from work?" And he was like, I didn't even think about that. There was nothing in my heart that was impure towards her, but then I started thinking about it and I went, "Oh, this is a threat. Like this could, lead down a path that leads to death. What are the threats to my health? Am I going to stick my head in the sand and go, I don't want to know what my grandpa and dad died of, or my great grandpa and my grandpa and my dad, they all had the same type of cancer. I don't want to think about it. Well, that's dumb when we could just go, well, let's just keep an eye out for that. It doesn't mean we have to walk around hypochondriacs and expect that we're going to be able to cure everything that comes our way, but let's just be aware. Um, I am guilty of this one. You know, Steve, that I have a high blood pressure from time to time. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just not going to check it because I would like to eat brisket the whole week while I'm in Texas. And if I check it, then I might not do that. So, um, living that way for the long haul is not wise. Know the threats. Anything on those first two before I get to the last one?
No, those are great. Knowing the threats. I like it.
Okay. So know the condition of your flock, know what the threats look like. And the last thing I'll say, just general protector wisdom, is be really thoughtful about who gets to teach you on all five of these areas. You could say that kind of blends into the last one, but even I'm gonna tell you this. Don't just assume, well, I found these guys on Abraham's Wallet and they're funny. So I just thought these guys will tell me what I should do with my 401k. Um, it it is very important, and it is actually your duty as a father to be discerning about who you let lead you. The scripture has some really good qualifications for people who are going to oversee your spiritual life, and they have to prove their mettle in the world of family and householding before they get the right to be spiritual overseers. I would say that there's people that are going to give you advice on all of the other four capitals too, and you should be discerning about who they are. That means you should think, who gets to give me health advice? Do I just take it from somebody that I like? Or do I just take it from somebody because they have letters behind their name? Neither of those are particularly reliable these days, unfortunately. I mean, if anything, 2020 in 2021, the whole COVID nonsense taught us. As a physician, my wife really bemoans this, but it sort of taught us sometimes doctors are going to totally give you bad advice, and so you have to be discerning about which ones you listen to. And then there's the other side of that too. There's lots of people who want to make a buck off of your physical capital that are going to give you abjectly false information. Um, when it comes to money, no different. There's just get on Twitter, or I've never been on TikTok, but I've heard that it's full of people who want to tell you things like they grab headlines, 401ks are a scam. Don't do that. Put all your money in whole life insurance. You're not getting good advice. Somebody does not have your best interest in mind. They're not a trustworthy advisor. So, a protector of all five capitals puts up some reasonable fences such that not everybody has the right to come in and teach and lead you or your family on those areas. And we're going to talk about what that means in each individual capital as we go.
Yeah, man. I've got war stories and battle scars from learning that you have to be very careful about who gives you input. And I'm thinking of that all the way from spiritual things in the last year, specifically putting my children in a position where they're going like to a Christian camp. And I'm going like, these people, I'm sure they'll take care of them, right? Won't they take care of them? Only to find no, they were not going to take care of them. And that's on my watch, right? I got to deal with that. All the way down to, as you said, people who have, we realized years ago that we had a financial advisor who at the end of every year would sell off our stuff, and then at the beginning of the next year would buy again back to the very same place where we've been. We lose value on those transactions, but he gets to end his year by saying that he had made these transactions, so he gets to work the numbers for his accounting that will benefit him while it's stealing our long-term wealth. You go like, wait, why was I, why was I trusting these people? Um, so yeah, that I think that is a constant. window of vigilance for a father and family leader, and sometimes this has certainly come to mind for me with the car being stolen. It's just easier for us to think that just I'd like to assume that things are just going to be fine, that people are all just going to generally be trustworthy. That way I don't have to be like vigilant and suspicious and all of that stuff. But they teach you in self-defense training that in any situation when you're walking to dinner downtown with your wife, you are constantly monitoring who are all the people around me at all times. What are the opportunities for trouble? Just kind of this regular vigilance. And when I've told guys about my car being stolen, I've had several guys say to me immediately, "Oh, you left your keys in there." I do that all the time. I know. And it was actually a pastor I talked to, and he said, "You know what? If you want to steal from somebody, you should probably steal from me because our back door is left open always, just all the time." And I said to him, um, I totally get that heartbeat. The heart is that, like, that in heaven, if we all have mansions, all the doors are gonna be unlocked all the time, and we'll be able to come in and visit each other, and the idea of Mayberry and that kind of, ideal, and I said that the reality is we just don't live in that world, and we've got to be serious about things that aren't fun to be serious about. I'd much rather live in a world where we can trust everybody all the time, but it is the job of a father to be vigilant about protecting the capital of his family, all 5 capitals, and all the time. So that's why we wanna give this some attention because I think all of us would prefer to be able to take a nap and assume all is well, and all is not well. The wolves are real. I know the most about the spiritual wolves. I mean, I've taught on false teachers before, and I know the most about that scenario. But we have to be on our guard. We're commanded to be on our guard, and so yeah, protectors.
So next week we will, or I don't know. Am I committing to next week? I'm not going to commit to anything.
Who
But
knows when it'll happen?
next time you hear us on protection, which I am excited to dig into, I think what we are going to do is work our way up the food pyramid and start at the least important capital, which is financial,
Great idea.
and we will end with the most important capital, which is spiritual. Um, Roundabouts those time, we'll be gathering at the 5 capitals work at weekend too when we get through this. So
True
we
enough.
might even get to hash out 5 capitals protection with some of the guys who are going to show up to our event.
That'd be really fun. We're gonna leave you today with the most distressing security video that was caught by any of my neighbors. And what you're gonna see in this little clip is I had told you that the bad guys were in a black sedan. Well, you're gonna see my car, the Outpost Mobile, being driven away down my street, followed by the bad guys, Marauders, in their black sedan. So we're signing off as my car signs off and is into its world of crime. Goodbye. Here it is.